Welcome to Glitch Tips and Trick. Today, I will show and explain what I did to my character, and the most effective way to strengthen your characters. This elaboration emphasizes not just showing and explaining but also focusing on the finer details of the character. It adds depth to the statement by highlighting the attention to specifics. Let me know if you'd like further refinement. First and foremost, the important stats are as follows: STR, Agi, Luck, and lastly Dex. Let's start with STR stats. It gives you a boost on your damage and power of melee attacks and skills. The more strength stats you have, the better. Next would be Agi for players that want to attack fast-based attacks/skills or to benefit from it to increase their damage, such as Fatal Menace or Triangle Shot, as well as Luck, the main stat for most critical builds. This also means that they're also physical damage dealer builds. It increases the critical rate, hit, flee, ATK, and magic. And lastly Dex. Dex increases the accuracy of both melee physical and ranged physical damage. It also increases minimum physical damage. Lastly, it lowers the casting time needed for some skills and spells. I usually build my character 70% ATK and 30% def, but nowadays that would be hard if you are not a high spender or whale like others, so I put it like this: 60% defense and 40% attack by choosing sets as follows. Together with sets of cards like Ether Corn you choose for armor, Double Raedric from Cloak, because I don't have other cards, but you can use resistance cards such as Jack, Dustiness, etc., depending on the elements or job classes that you want to counter. Alarm and Explosion for shoes for pushing back enemies if you are being ganked and helps you get away from it. For headgear, I am using the Polar Bear Knit Hat for extra shield, reduction, and HP regeneration, together with Deviruchi and G Earth cards for extra reduction. Also for face, Laurel Sticker, which has almost the same effect as my headgear was for extra HP regeneration and reduction as per my cards. I was using Goblin Leader Puppet 2. As well for mouth, I am using Ruby Gem for extra shield, damage, and reduction from Demi-Human, together with Doppelganger Puppet 2 for more medium size reduction. Furthermore, for my accessories, I used cards like Ether Orc Archer, giving extra damage every time you deal crit damage, Injustice, an extra stun effect, and multiple damage, Ether Mantis, for Patch, PDMG, and STR, and lastly, Illusion Owl Duke, for a damage multiplier. For fashion sets like costumes, it depends on what you have. On the other hand, I am using Duo Shade to focus on damage because of my combination sets, as well as for my cards, including Baphomet Puppet 2. To conclude, for backgear, I am using Giant Bunny Doll for more damage and reduction for both demi-human and brute enemies. Including cards, Deviling Puppet 2 was my choice. Take note, the effect of Giant Bunny Doll can only be triggered by conditions written on it. For enchants, nothing much different from other players. For my headgear PvP technique, with Ignore Def and STR. Mouth Def for more defensive stats. Face Def for more defensive stats. Back PvP technique with Ignore Def and STR. Costume PvP technique with Def and ATK. Weapon and both accessories were using superior crit with ATK percentage to boost your ATK and crit damage. My skills: the typical Shadow Chaser skill build. As for the setups, I am only using 3 types of skills: Chomp, Shadow Cleave, and Power Boost on my skill preset, or what we call Soul Capture. A lot of you might think about why Chomp over Spirit Ambush. My answer is Chomp can be converted because it's neutral, and Spirit Ambush was Force Shadow that can be easily countered by the Bathory card. My Verus Core. For my first cogwheel, I am using Holy Light Shield for more damage and reduction and Malice for status effect. Second, Bloodthirst for extra damage, Backslide for movement speed. Third, Heart of Rouge to extend the duration of Slyness, Energy Storm for single target small AoE damage. For my Sigils tablet, I am using Radiant Guardian, a small field area effect like Dome when used, which is for you and your team to gain more reduction. Endless Nightmare has the effect of a stun on your target and helps you deal with the bleeding effect and boost your PvP damage reduction. Soul Mark has the effect of a mini burst effect like Impale. Impale sounds hard, but you should get it no matter what to tier 2 for a damage boost, and it has a huge help when bursting someone. Floating protection, shield effect, and a CC-type sigil when the shield breaks help you freeze the enemy around you for a sec, and it gives a huge boost to both your PvP and PDMG/MDEF reduction. Lastly, Ruthless gives crit chance and PDMG/MDMG reduction. There's nothing special about it due to no benefits from its other effect. My medals, I was trying to make it simple, like balancing it out. Nothing much. My Nebula Path. As for my build, I put all the skill stats that I know that my character needs and which class I counter. Even if just a little reduction, but a reduction, still a reduction when it comes to other classes that are below your progress and helps you to tank even more. My mount. I prioritize my dexterity barding when it comes to mount equipment to gain more ignore def and PDMG/MDMG boosts. Also balancing it and upgrading other stats to their average stats and never leaving behind any other stats from mount equipment when it comes to being a DPS role class. Nightingale Echo. It depends on you which one you want to prioritize, when it comes to a DPS role. For me, I focus on my stats on having both the Garm Fangel and Hull's Eye. Neither of them has a good effect, depending on the situation you're in. My main focus is to burst a single target, with the help of Garm Fangel for an extra bleeding effect, and for US Shadow Chaser, which has high PDMG, it can benefit from it. As I'm saying, they are both good, it's just that you need to pick which one suits you. Valkyrie Statue. Max it out. Oh, for me, I focus on getting ignore def stats, when it comes to the Valkyrie Statue. Eventually you will max out all your stats in no time. Just be patient and focus on what your character is lacking, either ignore def or def. Soul Force. I know most of us don't care about this, but wait. It gives you micro stats that you even don't know it counts. Like having additional PDMG, MDMG, PATK, healing, PDMG/MDMG reduction, etc. You just need to optimize it to the fullest, on which crystal has the higher stats you currently have. Pets. Okay, a lot of players I see, they just deploy what they want, and don't care about the micro stats that your pet has to offer. On this I will give you some tips and tricks, to optimize every possible micro stat your character will possibly gain from it between deploy and assist. When it comes to deploying pets, check which one has to offer better buffs, and a higher tier for you to benefit from it. Yes. We all know that we need stronger pets, but did you ever check which pet has micro stats to give? As well as assisting deployment, most of the players deploying S pet low tier. And a pet low tier, then B pet max tier from it. But did you ever check which one gives you more stats? Yes, you will gain a boost of DP equals divine power when deploying a higher rarity pet. But your DP doesn't give you damage. Higher DP doesn't mean higher damage. Nexus Engine. My build focuses on pumping ignore def and reduction, that can benefit my survival and DPS. Including the passive buffs, every time you use skills or being hit. Moreover, being a Shadow Chaser gives you an advantage, when it comes to the Nexus Engine because of your skills. An example of this was having 2 spammable movement and cleanser skills. That every use of these skills, will gain buffs from your Nexus Engine. Guild skills. I know. Most of you, already max out the guild skills, but not me. As I mentioned that my build prioritizes having ignore def, so yeah, I am putting my all into ignore def. On the other hand, when it comes to master effects, I wanted to balance out most of my stats. As you can see, every bit of my resources was used just to have them upgraded. Feathers. I set mine like others did, 4 orange and 1 purple. And still not yet finished and lots of room to grow. As well as upgrading, and having order and truth max on my purple. As of now, this is what I did to my feathers, to compensate for the lack of stats, from reductions, and damage. Some of us focus on upgrading just the ATK feathers, as for me, I build mine differently. I start upgrading my def feathers, then my ATK feathers. As soon as I reach a certain stat that I'm satisfied with, I move to upgrade my ATK feathers to gain more ignore def. I suggest you optimize your features, based on your own progress. And little by little adjust it accordingly. Libra. Next in order that this Libra comes last. When it comes to your progress, due to lots of resources being burned. Just to gain 1 level. Just focus on having ignore def from ATK. And def from shield. Decks of cards. For PvP, my decks of cards focus on reduction, to be able to survive. I used Major Resolve, to gain PDMG reduction. Minor Protection, for PDMG reduction and a passive Fortify buff. For every time you get hit. Major Protection, for more reduction every time you get hit from demi-human. Divine Armament. For weapon should use Soul Capturer, for you to effectively utilize your skills and deal more damage. Also for armors, I use Randgrith of Fortitude for survival. It will give you a boost for both PDMG/MDMG reduction and have a passive effect of Petrify and be able to dive in whenever you want because of the crowd control effect. That helps your teammates to freely hit. Also, as for the accessories, I'm still using Remorseless, which gives PDMG reduction as well as melee damage. And a huge boost of damage depending on your max HP when it comes to PvP. My overall details. In drawing things to a close, my overall details show that all my priorities in character development will be seen in all the details. Set your goal and start optimizing your character. I hope it helps you more than I am and optimizes your character to your liking. And have fun playing Shadow Lurker build.